Welcome to Feature Fridays. My name is Guy Bartram. I'm the Director of Product Marketing for our cloud providers here at VMware. And today I'm joined by Nikolay. Nikolay, welcome again. Thank you very much for joining. For those who don't know you, Nikolay, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, Guy. Thanks for inviting me again. My name is Nikolay Patrikov, and I'm a Senior Technical Product Manager for VMware Cloud Director Availability. And today I'm going to present what's new in our latest release, VMware Cloud Director Availability 4.5, that we just released last week.
Yeah, excellent. Dying to see what's in it. So this is a really exciting release because there's a number of really good improvements to some of the DR capabilities and lots more. So let's dive straight into it, Nikolay. Do you want to bring up your slide that has all of the details of the updates?
Sure. So I will be quickly going through a slide, and then I have prepared some live demos that would be much more interesting than going through screenshots and slides. Okay, so what we have, again, as with 4.4, we had a major focus on vSphere DRM migration. Now we are enhancing it, adding some major improvements. The first one is the single-step pairing. We have changed the whole pairing mechanism, and now it no longer requires a public endpoint on the on-prem side, on the tenant side, and only the tenant needs to pair to the cloud endpoint. And also it requires authentication now, and it can be authenticated with the administrator user, depending on what level of access the cloud provider is giving to the tenant on the dedicated cloud, or it can be done with the user part of the VR users group that is created during the initial setup at the cloud side. So it doesn't require the fully privileged user anymore, but just a user from the VR users group. Also, there are some improvements on the replication settings. We can now set them up prior to actually running the replication as it was before. So for each one of them, we can pre-configure them and then just start the replication. As well as the storage, VM storage policy selection. In the previous version, we were only able to select the data store, and now we can also select the VM storage policy, which now leads also to supporting replicating protected encrypted VMs. So we support also selection of encrypted VM storage policies, and with that, we unlock this. And one of the most significant upgrades to this new version is support for external replicators to be attached. So the appliance still remains a combined appliance at the cloud side, but now for scaling out, you can add additional replicators to handle higher load on the cloud side.
So that's quite cool. So this is going to really help cloud providers onboard quicker and easier, right? So they're easier in terms of setup with that single step pairing. Additional volume will be generated by using additional replicators and getting the customer replicated faster, and support for encrypted VMs.
Okay, and apart from the vSphere DRM migration, we have some additional new features. One of them is the completely redone recovery settings menu that we have for Cloud Director destinations. It comes with a new menu where we have full control over all the guest customization settings that are available in Cloud Director. So now we can not only change the network settings, the IP address and the computer name, but we can also reset the password. We can join the VM to a domain, and also add a script to be executed at the destination side that contains pre and post replication actions. So with this, we have full support of all the available guest customization options that are part of Cloud Director. And as part of configuring these settings, if we are replicating between two Cloud Director sites, we can even use the source guest customization settings that are available at the source site for this specific VM, or we can override them with custom settings that we can set. And I'm going to demonstrate that during my demo part.
Okay.
Also, we have backup automation. As in previous versions, we had only the option to manually generate backups. And now we have automated that. We can create schedule for creating backups and automatically upload it to a remote SFTP server that we authenticate and trust. So we can add a trusted server and upload the encrypted backups there. Additionally, we have some more options for the replication policies, like cloning instead of creating a new one and configuring it from scratch. Also, support for prohibiting migrations from the cloud side to on-premises, which was something requested by some of the cloud providers that don't want the workloads to go out of their cloud. We have the system-wide notifications that are based on Cloud Director advisories. So now creating a new advisory and marking it available for a specific organization will also be shown in the Cloud Director Availability portal, not only in VCD. We added service and appliance uptime that is available in the system, health, enriching it and giving some more information about the service that is running. And as part of the replication configuration wizard, we can now select VM sizing policy as well, if it is available at the destination Cloud Director. And we introduce the initial row-based access control. We have some new rows created, and this results into view-only user that is available for some monitoring purposes or checking the configuration, everything that is needed just to be observed. So these are the new features. Of course, we have some fixes and improvements. Also, we have a very nice document that is planned for scaling and performance that we are going to review some details and tweaks that can be done to Cloud Director Availability to handle and optimize the replication traffic. And this is coming live in December.
Okay, so two quick questions for you before we move on to the demo. The script execution, where is that running and what type of environment is supported in terms of scripting environment?
So this is running through VMware tools on the VM itself. So we don't call an external script from a script VM, for example, but it is all running at the VM itself. And it requires VMware tools and guest customization to be enabled in order to execute the script.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool. And the other kind of quick question, the backup and restore, that's just for the Cloud Director Availability appliances, is that right? And the configuration?
Yeah, the appliances and configuration, only, not the replications themselves.
Yeah. Okay, great. All right.
And okay. Here is my vSphere cloud site, and I have also the vSphere on-prem site. This is the on-prem. I'll start with the pairing. No matter if I do a new pairing or repair. Actually, one important thing to mention here is if you upgrade just, let's say, the cloud site to 4.5 and the on-prem keeps running 4.4, then all the existing replications that are configured will continue working, but you cannot create any new replication, and it is shown in the menu that it's just grayed out. So you cannot do that. All the sites need to be upgraded to 4.5. And after upgrading the on-prem site, you need to repair with the cloud in order for the new pairing mechanism to take place and to have the authentication in place as well. So now repairing, again, we just need to provide the public endpoint and SSO username and password. These are for the destination. And as mentioned earlier, it can be administrator at vSphere local if the tenant has this user, or it can be a user part of the VR users group that is with lower privilege than administrator, but fully sufficient to perform all the replication actions.
Okay.
And after we repair, everything's good, and the sites are fully operational. Then we can go to the cloud site and just add a new replicator. Here I already have a few, but let me just add another one. I put the password. It can be just freshly deployed, even without having to change its password. After we connect to it from here, we can change it. It's similar to the initial setup wizard of the cloud appliances, where we are talking about the Cloud Director scenario, where we have the wizard to connect the three appliances, the management appliance, the replicator, and the tunnel. All goes through the same wizard, and there we can change the root passwords of them during the wizard step. It is the same thing here. So apart from deploying the replicator, we don't need to perform anything on it, and we need to provide the.
So this is deploying a replicator at the cloud site, is that right?
Yeah, it's supported on the cloud site. On the on-prem, we don't support that.
Yeah.
And we can just add this replicator. And it's all good. After we add, of course, we can rebalance if we want to. We can also remove a replicator. So we have full control over all the replicators that we have. And then I have one replication here that already has its recovery settings. This is the new tab that we introduced, the recovery settings. And they can be set from all actions, recovery settings. Here, first, we can specify the folder on the destination site where the VM will be placed, the compute resource, and the network mappings. We can define two different networks, one for actual failover or migration, and the other one for testing, in order not to interfere with the production environment. Maybe most of people use isolated networks for tests, so we can have completely different networks here. Yeah. And all that can be set prior to testing or running replication. And we also can change the storage. So we have the storage profile and the data store itself. Here we can see all the available VM storage policies and all the available data stores associated with these policies. So we can just define that, and basically.
Sorry, just to interrupt. A tenant doing this then would only see obviously what storage policies that's been configured into their org VDC. Is that right?
Since it's vSphere, we don't have org VDC actually, and it's what they have in the destination vSphere, what the cloud provider has provided to them.
Got it.
And still, it's dedicated vSphere, so it can be fully tailored for the tenant that based on their needs.
Okay.
Okay, next let's go through the backup. Here we have the new scheduled backup archives. Of course, we still have the manual. We can still generate manual backups, but this is the new one. We have the schedule. Just copy. We need to provide the SFTP server, define whether we are going to authenticate with credentials or with public key. And first, we need to test the connection before we can continue, so we can verify that everything is good. Here, when we add a server, it's automatically added to the trusted servers. Later, we can change this server. So we can change this server or untrusted, depending on what we need to administrate, of course. Then we can define the backup interval. It can be between 30 minutes to 1 week, and specify the password for the encrypted archive. And that's about it. We have created it, and it will start the generation process, the first backup, and to upload it to the SFTP server. We can see it was a success. If there is any problem with that, it will be indicated here with a task.
And it's an encrypted backup, right? So it's, yeah,
it's fully encrypted. We can change the schedule afterwards. If we want to change the server credentials, if they change for some reason, or the schedule itself. The trusted servers are added under settings, trusted SSH hosts, and here is my SFTP, and it is indicated that it's used for scheduled backups. If we want to, from here, we can then remove it if we change it in the backup archives. Since it is in use now, I cannot remove it.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, then let's go to my Cloud Director, and here I'll show the different roles. So in order to define the new roles for the view-only user, we need to create first a rights bundle. This rights bundle contains of 2 VCDA rows. Okay, so on the bottom, we have VCDA view right and VCDA modify right. If we add to the user the modify right, it will have the administrative privileges for Cloud Director Availability, and if we add just the view right, it will have only the view rights for the VCDA portal. But in the bundle, we have to ship both and then define a role within the organization. So with that, after we publish these bundles to the organizations that we want to, then the org admin can log in and create the different rows. In this case, I have already created it, the read-only row with just the view right, and then create a user and associate with this row the user. It's becomes available under available rows, so the org admin can select it from here and can create a new user with this row.
What's the sorry, Nikki, what's the usage for read only? What use case would that support?
Mostly for users that will monitor the environment and see the settings, check whether everything is good with the replications, check the tasks, task status, and everything related to that.
Okay, so it is it kind of it seems that there's two kind of levels, and you get to do everything as admin, or you get to do nothing as read-only. Is there anything in between that allows for, just create replication jobs, for example?
Currently not, but there are some plans to enhance, as we call this phase one of the role-based user access. Hopefully in the next releases, we'll be able to enhance it to some more mixed kind of access with just creating replications or just changing their settings or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Like introducing new roles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then in my Cloud Director Availability, I have the replications, and here the recovery settings, it replaces the network settings that we used to see here. So under recovery settings, we can again have different settings for testing and for migration and failover. We can configure each and every adapter. We can select multiple VMs, and they will all show up here if we want to configure them together, or we can do it one by one as I did now. So we can still select networks and change MAC address, define the IP address and everything else. For this, it's important to mention that to change the IP address, we need guest customization to be enabled, as otherwise we cannot interact with the guest operating system and modify the IP address. And what we have here, we can use the source settings for guest customization for this specific replication, or we can modify them for Windows VMs. We have the change seat, which is only for the Windows operating systems. For Linux, we have the computer name. We have all these options for resetting password and set an auto-generated and etc. Joining a domain for Windows VMs again, and running a script. For scripts, we need to put the actual script body here, not a path to this script on the VM. So here we can see, and there are some operations that are done pre-customization and post-customization. For between the different tabs, for when we go to test, we can use this small button to copy the settings from migrate failover tab from the actual one, or if we don't want to and we want to use different settings, we can just configure them here the way that that we want.
So that looks like, I mean, is that migration, the real migration, test migration, is that new in 4.5?
No, we had the testing before as well.
Okay.
And we still had the different settings under the network settings that were different for migrate and for test migration. But now it's just extended with additional guest customization settings that are made available.
That's absolutely brilliant, because that solves like a huge issue that we had before, right? Where you'd have to manually go into the VMs afterwards and do whatever application changes you need to do. Now you can do that all in the guest customization scripts. Yeah,
the script execution definitely adds a lot of value to this feature. Okay. Then what we also have here under the replication settings, before in 4.4 we had the placement policy to select, and now we also have the sizing policy. We can use the system default, which is always available, or if there are some listed to this organization, we can just select the one that we want. Basically, it is giving extra flexibility to the replication. And the last thing is the system health and the service and appliance uptime. It's showing for each of the services, for example, from the management appliance, each of the services, what their uptime is. And it's mostly for informative purposes.
Yeah.
So basically, these are all the things that. Oh no, wait a minute! I almost forgot. The advisories.
Yeah.
They're configured by the system administrator in Cloud Director, and here under administration we have advisories, and we can create a new one. We can also add links in them, which makes it very good for announcing upgrades and putting the upgrade bits there, for example.
Mm-hmm.
This is the preview. We can define the priority, and if we create multiple ones, they will be listed by priority from mandatory to notice. So first you see the higher priority ones and then the lower priority ones. We can define for how long it will be active, whether to push it to all users in all organizations, and this will impact also organizations that do not have Cloud Director Availability. So if it is a targeted message, it is better to push it to a specific tenant. We can also have it for system administrators. For system administrators, as they're part of the same group, if one dismisses an advisory, the rest will not see, but this is how it works with Cloud Director anyway, so it's not something new. Yeah. So I can push it to this organization of mine that I have, a single tenant. And now if I just log out and use my read-only user.
There you go. Nice.
I have here in Cloud Director, but if I open the standalone UI of Cloud Director Availability, which is this one. Okay, that. It's showing up here as well, and I can follow it. And again, this is my read-only user, so I can see the incoming replications and their recovery settings. So I can see what will be the network settings, for example, the guest customization, etc. Just everything is grayed out, and I cannot modify anything. Yeah. I can see the connected sites and the required resources, but basically it's a bit limited to the actions, as it's just for viewing purposes. And yeah, that's now everything that I wanted to show.
That was a lot, Nicky. Okay, so there's some really good kind of new features there. Like we discussed, the user rights that will kind of improve and expand over time. Just kind of the initial phase. Phase 2 of the kind of backup capabilities. Phase 2 of the vSphere capabilities. I mean, that's looking pretty extensive now. Any idea of kind of what's coming next in these scenarios?
Well, we're for sure looking to add more features to the vSphere DRM migration scenario. Things like recovery plans as well, as they're not yet supported there, and it's something quite important to run a good service. And yeah, for now, this is what we have. We're currently working on the roadmap. So pretty soon we'll have some better idea on what to include, and we will be able to share more on problem during our VM Live.
Yeah, definitely. And I also like the feature where you can disable a tenant being able to kind of migrate out of the cloud back to prem. That's quite handy if you want to sort of keep your tenants on site and provide that as an additional, value added service potentially, where you can enable it for them, when they ask for it and when they need it, and perhaps make a different cost price as well.
Yeah, as Cloud Director Availability is based on policies, and we try to put everything under replication policies, SLA profiles, and extending these to make them as flexible as possible. And this way to give the control to cloud providers to make their tiers, service tiers, and configure them as easily as possible, and onboard the tenants literally within minutes. So no additional things to be done, just apply and assign the right policies, and the tenant is fully onboarded and can start replicating. And with these small settings, even the different tiers can have different pricing with just based on a single setting that is they're like enabling or disabling migrating from cloud to on-premises.
And do you know if any of this additional capability in 4.5 is going to be coming into the tenant app? In terms of, is there any kind of additional metering, monitoring capability that's going to be exposed in tenant app?
I don't think so. What we have currently in tenant app is based on storage and also on replication count, if I'm not mistaken. So this is not going to change with this release.
Okay, cool.
And maybe it's good to mention that we also published a new version of the management pack, I think a month and a half ago, that the vRealize operations management pack for vCDA that includes now some system metrics for the site that allow monitoring the site health as well, not only the replication health that we had with the previous version, but we extended it to the site health. Was added some alerts and symptoms and a very nice dashboard that can be used as a base and modified by cloud providers based on their needs. But all this is included in the latest management pack.
Awesome. Great. Thank you very much, Nicky, for showing us around Cloud Director Availability 4.5. And for those watching, it's available to download now. If you have any challenges or issues, as usual, reach out over the Slack group. Nicky, you're on there. Everyone else from engineering's on there. So it's a really good resource for cloud providers if they're struggling with any particular components or have any questions. Nicky, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me and looking forward to our next meeting.
Absolutely. Cheers, buddy.